I don't know when we actually go live. I don't think Rumble tells you we can be live now, for all we know.
Matt, do you want to send a link to the?
Oh, you send the link. Let me just check. Are we live yet?
Are we episode 3?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to go live. It literally just does it on its own accord because I pressed the button.
Yeah, sweet. I've sent
Press
the
the
link.
button, just waiting for it to actually go live.
Yep, all good, all good. It'll take
Oh yeah,
just.
no, we're live. We're
Okay.
live. Sweet. All right, cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Endeavour News. I'm Hector, and I'm here with Gilbert. Hello, good sir.
Hello, good sir, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Endeavour News, where we expose the Jews so you can protect you and your family.
Yeah, good as always. We have some interesting topics today, some more interesting than the other. I guess first we'll start off. This week we had the leaders debate, mate. Real
Mm.
interesting stuff there. Wait a sec. I said the completely wrong thing. No, completely uninteresting stuff there.
Boring.
Well, it's interesting how just boring this election cycle is. It's the most boring election cycle in about, I don't know, a decade. The main
Mm.
topics are tax cuts
Mm.
and becoming tough on crime. It's like those are the two main ones.
Yeah,
And it's
as
like,
Labour and National have been ruling for 88 years, and things have just progressively gotten worse. It's like this is the time when we need real leaders, real strongmen, not these little weenie puffed juniors that, kind of piddle around issues and not actually try to take topics with both hands and really show that they care and are passionate about the country. But I mean, just look at Argentina's new new libertarian guy that's coming out. What's his name? Do you
oh, I
remember?
don't remember the guy with the crazy haircut.
Sideburns, yeah. But I mean, that's kind of more of what we need. Maybe not quite that epic. But yeah, that's at the offset. That's what I would say about that.
Well, I mean, the guy obviously has some really big flaws, the Argentina guy whose name I don't remember, but it's like, at least he's interesting. 'Cause it's
Yeah.
unlike, Chris Hipkins and Christopher Luxon, the two Chris's. They're
Mm,
just really
mm,
boring. I mean, the two main topics this election cycle are
yeah.
tax cuts. Who's going to cut the most tax? National wants to do $20 worth of tax cuts, while Labor wants to do $5 worth of tax cuts. It's like,
Uh,
wow.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's really not. We're really getting nothing. It's really just like, oh, we'll throw the peasants a bone every now and again, and they will keep them happy. And it's like, man, the things that are facing New Zealanders are really so substantial and monumental. That I mean, it's really not sufficient. I mean, this is why so many people are just so pissed off. It's not sufficient to just go, oh, we're gonna cut taxes and that'll solve everything, and we'll be tougher on crime, whatever that really means.
They'll
I
be
mean, it's
tougher on crime. I mean, to be fair, like Labor's been absolutely just spastic on crime, and that's just a solid fact. But
mm,
that just because Labor's like complete garbage at crime doesn't mean like National's going to do much better.
no, and it's in National's entirety. They won't do much better anyway. It's just crapper to maybe a bit less crap. Just like with the taxes, you're not really getting much of a deal there if you're a hardworking Kiwi. So yeah, I mean, again, it's just boring, nothing to offer, more of the same. And we really need somebody in this country to come through for us. And I think we will see the more outside parties. But perhaps people will be quite surprised at how well they do. But we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I'll bring up the opinion polls on the stream now. I'll share it with you as well.
Mm,
It's just you can already see in like the official opinion polls that the small parties, Green Act, New Zealand First, that like Green and ACT are both going to double in vote according to the opinion polls, and New Zealand First is also going to probably double and be back in Parliament.
yeah.
So Labor's vote has collapsed massively. They got nearly 50% of the vote last election,
Mm,
and they're
mm,
polling in the mid 20s now. So that's really bad. And National's sort of polling about the same they did last election. It's just the problem there is they're not really growing, while the ACT Party and the New Zealand First are the ones growing, so they're just going to have more seats.
Yeah, and a big part of that is like they could be growing a lot more, but they're not saying the right things. You can tell that they're still completely bought and paid for, as is the Labour Party is, by these nameless and faceless entities. And if they were really gonna say the right things that actually resonate with New Zealanders, that Green Act and Zip First wouldn't be getting so much of a boost. I mean, people are you see the exodus happening. People are not as confident in the labor net dichotomy as they once were. That in itself suggests a strong degree of instability and uncertainty in this country, especially in the wake of this horrible vaccine campaign.
Yeah, well, part of the debate was actually they were like, "Oh, how would you handle the vaccine mandate?" And Luxon's like, "Oh, Labor did good at the vaccine mandate at
Yeah.
first, but then they made the lockdowns last like a month too long." It's
Oh
like,
my
mate, what sort of
goodness.
argument is that?
Yeah,
She's
and
like,
just sorry. Go ahead. Go
"Oh,
ahead.
I'm just saying, it's like you're just pretty much saying, yeah, we 100% agree, but we would have made lockdown one
Yeah.
month shorter." It's like, no, that's not even like a response. You might as well
Exactly.
just say you agree 100%.
Exactly. Exactly. It's total, and that's what all Kiwis are just so fed up with, this lukewarmness, and that so many Kiwis are so angry over this issue in particular. That they completely wasted everybody's lives over nothing, and actually ended up really injuring and killing people actually through the other mandate. But yeah, I mean, really just again goes to show what where their loyalties lie. I mean, they know that people are angry, yet they continue to tell this old oft told tale of, oh, the mandates were good, and every labor did pretty good, but they should have just dialed it back a little bit.
Yeah, that's
um
basically the response. You
yeah.
didn't even watch the debate. I think you mentioned, but that was
Yeah.
exactly what like
Oh,
Christopher Luxon said, basically.
yeah, I mean, it's just total weenies, and then on top of that, recently came to my attention that we are getting a significant amount of the globo homo that is infecting Western Europe and the U.S., and we
That's
see
not even a
that.
factor. Like the National
Mm,
Party's 100% on board with any
mm,
sort of social liberalism of the Labour Party. Like,
yeah,
when was the last time
absolutely.
National pushed back against anything? Like they
Mm,
completely folded under the like abortion,
yeah, yeah.
the supposed what was it, conversion therapy, which is basically telling people like trannies aren't actually the gender they think they are. It's like
Mm.
calling like trannies delusional like faggots. That's basically what conversion therapy is according to the law.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think what really shocked me is that both Labour and National are actually okay and in favor of the literal trannies teaching your kids, that's your 4 year olds or 6 year olds or however old they are, in primary school, in kindergarten, that they are okay with literal trannies teaching your kids, you know, reading drag queen story time to them. That is like just like ding 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 wee oo wee oo wee oo. Everybody,
Yeah,
come on, like this is serious. We've gotta. We've seen it happen to America. We've seen it
at least
happen in
like
Canada. We've
yeah,
seen it happen in the UK. And then the proceeding cases of child molestation with those situations that they've allowed in their schools. It's like, come on, Kiwis, please wake up. Let's get going here. Our children are under attack, and many Kiwis maybe don't know this, but even
yeah.
though that there was just a nationwide debate, so it's just like, come on, everybody, let's wake up. Our kids are really in danger right now.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because there's been, at least like in America, you can say Republicans suck, which is sort of true, but at least like within the
That's
Republican
true.
Party,
Mm,
there's at least some pushback on these culture issues like abortion and like transgenderism and stuff like that.
mm,
And
mm,
like even like anti-whiteism, like, you've got
mm, mm.
Republicans, representatives talking about like anti-white hatred and stuff at this point and anti-white rhetoric.
Mm,
So at
mm,
least there's like a little bit there. At least it's starting to sort of take hold there. While
mm.
here, it's like just the National Party is literally just the Labour Party, but they want to have a slightly bigger tax cut. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, yeah. Really, I mean, it should be abundantly clear to everybody in this country now that they are exactly what you just said, Hector. That they are really no different at all. It's labor with a tax cut. So this is really
Not even a
something that.
big one. It's a pretty minor tax
Oh
cut,
yeah.
like
Oh,
$30 a fortnight. It's like, come on.
it reminds me of all the the COVID relief or the poor people relief that they sent out with if you were in under 70K you get like what was it, $100 or something, or
Yeah, you
and
got your Jacinda bucks, mate. I love my Jacinda bucks. It was funny because I was making heaps of money as well, but because of the way the tax codes work, I was making shit tons of money at my job. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't swear. But I was making heaps of money at my job, and then I got some Jacinda bucks, and I was like, yeah, sweet.
yeah, yeah. I guess those Cindy bucks got to go to someone good. At least they went to somebody good.
I
But
spent it all on Fortnite and Robux. I bought like a Robux, I bought like a Robux cape. It's pretty good.
yeah, Minecraft
Yeah.
upgrades. Yeah, but yeah, no, that's pretty. That's good. That's good to hear. I'm pleased to hear that, Hector. But yeah, it's yeah, people. It's a positive thing to see that at least you are getting some movement into at least these other parties that I'm not. Of course, I'm not totally fond of. I had a friend of mine talking about ACT, how they're pro-gun, pro-free speech, and that he said some other positive things about them. However, I mean, I just don't trust
Yeah.
them. I think the New Zealand people need to go even further than Greens Enact and even further than New Zealand First, if
Yeah, I
I'm quite
agree.
honest. Yeah, because even I'm afraid to say for whatever reason New Zealand First hasn't quite cut it. Even though Winnie has had a lot of base things to say, it's
Well, it's like things are bad when like even New Zealand First aren't talking about migration. They're still like are not willing to shift the Overton window there. Like that used
mm,
to be
uh,
their thing.
mm,
And you go on the New
mm,
Zealand First website, you press Control F, like migration, zero
mm.
result. It's like what the heck?
Yeah, yeah, that's makes me wonder a little bit what they're doing there, or if there's something greater afoot. Because we know that
So maybe something to do
migration.
with donors. Like, well, migration's the biggest factor in the cost of living. At least in Australia, they're talking about it because their cost
Yes.
of living's just as bad as it is here. But at least
Oh,
they talk about how migration is pushing housing and cost of living prices up. But here,
oh,
it's not mentioned at all. It's ridiculous.
oh, absolutely. I mean, migration is the globalists and the Zionists' most powerful weapon that they use to do all those things as you say, and just have a clean sweep victory over Western nations and other nations as well, I'm sure. So I mean, this is their main and most favorite tool, I would say, to achieve what it is they are so focused on achieving, on accomplishing. And yeah, New Zealand's really got to figure this thing, especially figure it out, because that's it's getting pretty crazy, especially in Auckland. But yeah, yeah. So we need to. I would say, what else have we got? We've got what are some of the other parties we have? Hector, we
Oh,
have
well,
the
I mean, we've got,
Freedoms Party. Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Freedom, Loyal, Top, New Conservative. What am
yeah,
I missing here?
yeah. I
New Nation Party, the New Zeal Party.
well, loyal and said loyal.
Yeah,
Is that what?
Loyal Party.
Yeah. So I think the ones that probably show most promise for New Zealand's are probably what would you say, Hector? Probably the New Zealand Freedoms Party. I believe that's Tamaki's party.
Yeah, and
Um,
Loyal.
and loyal.
Both
Yeah.
have flaws, but if I'd say if you're going to vote for any of the parties,
Mm,
vote for one of those two. Like,
absolutely. And New Conservative. I know a lot of people are still maybe hot on them. The thing about Israel is I think the main topic that people use to sort of sway people away from, at least in our circles, sway people away from New Conservative. But potentially that could be another one. I don't know. What do you think, Hector? What's your
I know that I don't know what it is this election cycle, but last election cycle, the New Conservatives had some really sort of fricked up
oh,
policies they wanted to introduce. I think it was the UN definition of anti-Semitism or whatever it was.
okay, there you
So
go.
that's like some real bad like red flags there. Like
There
that,
you go. There you go. Yep.
it's like the
Yep.
one the ADL's been pushing in the UN, where
Yeah.
it's like if you criticize Israel, that counts as anti-Semitism. If you
Yeah.
say there's too many Jews in
Yeah.
banking or Hollywood, that's anti-Semitism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or basically like saying anything like that could be slightly negative towards Jews. Basically, if you like don't, what's the way to put it without being vulgar? Like,
Hmm.
suck their toes. I think that's still sort of vulgar. If you don't suck the toes of the Jews, then you're
Mm.
anti-Semitism. It's
Well,
anti-Semitism.
it is really like that. I mean, that some people may think that's vulgar, but that is literally. I mean, seeing how bad this phenomena of complete, you know, quite frankly, Jewish control is. Control over all spheres of life, really. It really is that ridiculous, where they expect, kind of like a new religion to basically revolve around Jewish people, while at the same time kind of not being in sight at the same time. But they really do require everybody to worship them. And it's like, I just simply say, hey, you can accuse me of being anti-Semitic. I guess that's your right. But where are the Jewish people calling out these obvious kind of inconsistencies and obvious things that are wrong, that community solely perpetuates this whole sort of almost like a merry-go-round or a circus of anti-Semitism, where everything's anti-Semitism. Where are the Jewish people in the Jewish community speaking out against their own community and condemning this and fighting for our rights? I don't really see it. I see Roseanne Barr crying on Infowars saying, boo hoo hoo, my people were oppressed, my oppression Olympics, and just going on and on about how hard done by the Jews were by everybody, and nothing is really ever mentioned about. Hold on, what about our rights? What about our freedom as supposedly free people of the West? And what about justice for all? So it's all so
Yeah.
tiresome, and I just wish there was someone from that community who would speak out and say, and then of course all the people in Breitbart and people like that who were not just outright condemning the ADL. We've given them so many
Yeah, it's
opportunities.
pretty sus. Like when you have, these supposed, oh, we're the dissident right, and then yeah, Rebel
Mm,
News and whatever, they're like, oh no, the
that's right.
ADL's actually it was good, but they've gone slightly
That's
too
right.
far. It's like,
Mm,
no, the ADL was never good. It's like it was found. We talked about this in episode 1. It was
yeah.
founded as like a literal defense as a convicted rapist and murderer. Like it's
Yeah.
fricked.
I mean, it's like, wouldn't you want to? You think anybody else would jump at the opportunity to say, no, that what a terrible organization. We do not support that, and you'd think so. But I've yet to see just a flat out simple condemnation of the ADL and its founding and Jonathan Greenblatt.
Yeah.
And the people, that would just be so simple. Like, who would want to have that as like a marker of their community? And it's just like, we're waiting for people to, yeah, really. And this is kind of the thing that gets people quite fed up with the Jewish community
Yeah, well, I
is.
mean, literally the talking point of, the base Jews or whatever you want to call them, is the ADL used to be good, but they're going too far now.
That's right. Yeah, when it was always at its inception, it was too far. So that's something. But
Well,
and yeah.
ADL's literally, yeah, it's founded on the most vile and
Oh.
horrid foundations. It's really bad. But yeah, to go back to the New Conservatives, I guess. because that's what brought it up. I think last election cycle they really wanted those like Israeli Ziocon
Mm,
dollars flowing in.
the shekels,
Yeah,
yeah, they
they
wanted their shekels.
so that's why they
Yeah,
had that on their website, and they were saying, "Oh, we're going to
mm,
move the embassy from Tel Aviv from Tel Aviv to
goodness
Jerusalem and
gracious.
recognize
Oh,
the annexation of the West Bank."
oh,
So, yeah, I don't know if they're on there now, but last election cycle that was definitely there, and yeah, it put a lot of
and
people off,
mm,
including myself, from voting
mm.
New Conservative.
And to think that a place as kind of isolated by itself as New Zealand, that they'd want to sucker even New Zealanders into this situation that, I mean, we don't have anything to do with
Hmm.
that situation. Like it's just, yeah, it's totally ridiculous. It's totally wrong. And
Yeah,
if we support people like this, who have that as part of their platform, we're going to, inevitably go down that route of being enslaved by Ziocons. And apparently, New Conservative is well, it's not
I,
really new. They're more like neocons or Ziocons, but yeah,
yeah,
so basically we can forget about that party, everybody.
yeah. I'd
That,
say freedom or loyal, as far as I can tell. At least they're not trying to vie for those Ziocon shekels.
yeah, and trying to do whatever other crazy, trying to get your well, they're outright against all the trannyism, reading books to your kids by trannies. So yeah, it's basically those parties, guys, that I think you should be deciding between. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
and at least, and don't even look at Labor and National and yeah, or Green or Mary, and ACT and NZ first. I would veer away from those myself, to be
I'd say they're
honest.
slightly better than the other ones. Like,
Yeah,
if you're one of those guys, oh, I want to vote for someone where that only has a chance of getting in Parliament. It's like, if you want to be one
yeah,
of those people, like, the strategic voter, which I've never
mm,
believed in strategic voting.
yes.
Like, okay, vote ACT to New Zealand first, but otherwise, I'd say vote Freedom or Loyal.
That's right. And I mean, on that note, Hector, I'm glad you brought that up. That, I mean, we don't really have time to be a strategic voter. Strategic voting is maybe when you have a bit of time and you have a bit of wiggle room. But I mean, now it's kind of like we really need to push toward a genuine national rebirth, not even just a resurgence. Like we need to totally change this country, and I just don't see it happening on ACT. Like I don't think, I just don't hear that rhetoric that we need from ACT and Seymour, that the New Zealand Freedoms Party and NZ Loyal is preaching. That is the kind of stuff that, maybe, oh, you don't like Tamaki or this, but to me, that it's kind of besides the point. We need these people who are saying these things, that are saying, hey, trannies is a bad idea. Hey, this global climate change, enslavement, Davos agenda is wrong. All that,
Yeah.
you could go down the list. I'm not gonna,
Well, it's
but
like, if you don't like Tamaki, just vote New Zealand Loyal then. It's like,
oh yeah, okay, well, that's a simple solution to that. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's like we only have time to be, you know radical, and I mean, defines in a lawful way, guys. Of course, I hate that I have to say that, but but I mean, yeah, we um we really need to just completely, in its own way, we need to completely disavow all these parties who have completely failed us and caused so much harm and suffering to so many Kiwis, so many New Zealanders for the past 3 years, and many of them are still living with these side effects and psychological damage. I mean, it is really quite serious when you really get into the nitty gritty of it all, and it's tragic. And this is what they were prepared to do without a second thought. So just bear that in mind when you're voting. And I think it's an easy choice. That, yeah, we need people who are recognizing the very real, obvious problems in front of us, and we need to give either of these parties a leg up, and we need to help them out. So I really hope and pray that we see these two parties really come to the fore. And yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
yeah. Well, should we move on to the next topic of the Stopco Governance movement and protests?
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I thought this would be a good way to start it. A pretty epic article on the front page of the Stopco Governance website, why colonialism was beneficial to New Zealand. So you can already tell if you've got based boomers writing stuff like this, like they're going to be somewhat on the level.
Yeah, I mean, they recognize a lot of these truths that we would recognize and that we acknowledge as inconsistencies as a part of this whole liberal, quite frankly, psyop agenda that is engulfing the country, engulfing the nation's psychology. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of really good ideas on this website, and if you got the Stopco Governance Julian Bachelor booklet, I highly recommend you get one of those, at least one, get a couple, because there's a lot of really good information that I just don't think New Zealanders are very aware of. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs bearing into consideration. For instance, this section, Maori and land. Maori sold 93% New Zealand land to settlers, you know? Just like stuff like that
Yeah,
is
well, I mean, if you got people actually talking about the actual truth and not like the libtard talking points, it's like Lee, evil colonists came and stole all the land. It's like, well, actually, like the Maoris are sort of busy killing each other to like an absolutely brutal degree and sort of killing
yeah.
each other, eating each other. It was pretty
Mm,
tough. And then the
mm,
colonials came around and sort of offered to be the mediator, put an end to the violence, and during the time they also bought a bunch of land that the Maori weren't even using.
right. Yeah, totally. And I mean, I think we can quite obviously say that from that kind of well, way of life, that's an improvement to how we're
Like,
living.
yo, don't white people make sure I can't eat my cousin? Shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like I'm sorry you can't eat people, but I mean, yeah, but
Sorry,
that's
we're just not going to let you eat people, buddy.
yeah,
It's
of course.
tough.
Of course, these demonic trannies that are, scurrying around New Zealand, they would, I'm sure they would quite like to eat each other if they were given the chance, because they literally are demonic trannies. We're talking about Trantifa here, and that's maybe that's why that their whole shtick is like we can't, engage in this very you know horrible behavior that they're so prone to apparently. But yeah, I mean it's the treaty is yeah, it's just bear that in mind. Yeah, it was basically for everyone's protection, freedom, and safety. And it was meant to stop the division. And what we're seeing now is the media trying to, I guess interpret it in its own way, maybe, and trying to sow this division by
Well, it's
saying,
interesting because the Maoris were the most divided people on the country because they were literally fighting wars against each other.
and brutal ways. I mean, people don't realize how Rangi Toto got its name, and basically it was a genocide where there were like some horrible genocide sort of
Well, I mean,
akin
yeah, you
to.
got the Chatham Island genocide of the Moriori,
Mm,
and
right.
there's many others.
Yeah, many of many atrocities by at least by our standards. I hate to say that, but yeah, many atrocities were committed. So that's kind of like that at least bears some consideration, right? At least by our detractors, but they yeah, the point for them is they don't really care about any of this. That they're more about wanting to enslave everybody. So since that's their goal, they try to avoid this information and try to stop it from getting out to the public as much as possible.
But come on,
Uh,
mate, before the white people arrived, the Maoris had flying wakas and they like went to the moon.
they was Kangs and
They was
shit.
Kangs.
Yeah, they
They was 6 foot tall. I mean, they were 6 meters tall, mate. They
they
had
could
flying walkers.
what was it? They could bend muskets with their bare hands or
Yeah,
something.
they could. Oh, I
Yeah.
need to find that post. That was hilarious.
Yeah, but yeah, they had flying Mirais that could fly through time and space that also dispensed an abundance of fried chicken, and so I
Intergalactic
mean it was
KFC, mate.
to be honest, they do have a bit of a point, but I think there's a lot of benefits to colonization and the things that Europeans brought to this country. And I mean, I think uh, even Sir Aparananata, he even said, "Let me acknowledge first that in the whole world, I doubt whether any native race has been so well treated by European people as the Maori." So I
I'm
mean,
bringing this up. This is important.
okay.
The we was 6 meters tall. It's under this comment, so I'll read it out.
Yeah.
Pakeha turned Maori small. We was an average 7 to 10 foot, and our wrist strength was so strong it would make it easy to spin a musket. Yes, a musket, like a tihaha. I don't know what that is. So they could split open your head with a musket. XD. Once again, we stayed shorter, and with our wrist strength, and wait, we stayed shorter, and we kept the wrist strength until we didn't need weapons to fight every day. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but the British changed how we were. But actually, it was a bad thing. Now we're normal humans now. We was 10 foot tall and shit.
Oh my god, that's great. Oh man, someone give that guy an Oscar. That's really brilliant. I love that. But yeah, so I mean that's another thing in their favor, I suppose. But
We was
man,
10 foot tall.
we've got to show that comment at the start of every show. That's just really
It's
great.
like a Hall of Fame level comment.
Yeah, it's one of those really weird ones you get on YouTube. You get all kinds of strange stuff like that when you browse the comments
Maybe we
about.
should have that guy call in. That'll be pretty epic.
Yeah, if he wants to, or if anybody knows that guy, just get him in contact with
Yeah,
us.
we'll
We
have him
would
on.
love to. Yeah, or if you know, even if you know anybody like that. But yeah, honestly, seriously, get them in, put them in contact with us,
Yeah,
and
we want to hear about the flying wuckers and the 10 foot tall Maoris.
yeah, yeah. That's seriously, I'd be, where's the proof? Yeah, I'd just be interested to hear, that I gotta say, Maoris are very good at telling good stories. They're
Yeah, that
very
is.
good. That they are a race of like storytellers. They're good at that. Um, so yeah, if people wanna, you know, if someone knows something about what that man is talking about, then
Let us
just
know. Keep us
contact
updated.
us right away. Yeah, get in contact with us. We'd be open to it.
Yeah. Oh,
But
wait, we got a chat. We got a chat from Skinhead Friend. He says, "Afternoon, lads. Afternoon, good sir."
good afternoon. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah, hope
Well,
you're doing well.
anyways, what
Yeah,
were we talking about before that? Oh, yeah, the Stopco Governance.
co-governance. Yeah, so I mean, that's I know a lot of you guys will like say, okay, at the start of the booklet, for instance, oh, have we shared the page,
Uh,
the web page?
which one?
Oh, the co-governance one.
This one? Can you see it? Oh, wait, I think I
Oh,
stopped sharing for some reason.
oh, that's all good. Okay, as long
Wait,
as
I'll
the
get it back.
viewers can see it.
They can
Yeah,
see
that's
it, but I'll get it back for you.
no, it's all right. Okay, yeah. But I mean, a lot of you guys will think, oh, okay, they're talking about democracy and equality. We're a bit. A lot of you guys will be iffy on that, and fair enough. But I mean, what this really fundamentally is about is, our rights, our freedoms. We see an ever encroaching mass of corporate government cronies encroaching on our way of life, and they aren't going to stop anytime soon. It's important to involve yourselves in movements like this because our rights and our heritage, our rights and freedoms as Western people are our heritage. And we need to protect those as much as possible, especially from all these entities that would, like to lead us astray and enslave us to someone else, like New Conservative. So, these guys are sticking up for, some of the things is more from like a liberal perspective, but a lot of what they talk about is also really good. I actually heard one of our guys talking about there was an article or something about talking about white replacement, and by 2040, if I have that correct,
Yeah.
and that there was some also actually quite surprisingly based articles, and I've talked to a lot of these people, a part of this movement, and they are really, they get it.
Well,
They
they
get it.
know that this whole co-governance, anti-colonialism, whatever the heck that means, decolonialism, it's just anti-white movements because it's like, buddy, if it wasn't for
Yeah.
the colonialists, like you said, it would have just been Maoris eating each other, killing each other, enslaving each other, like licking on kumaras, paddling
Yeah,
around in, the
and it's really
Rotorua
so
in the.
kind of oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
Oh,
mate. Go
I
ahead.
was sorry, I was finished saying.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, yeah, the Coomers and stuff. But yeah, they, it's really doesn't this kind of division that they're trying, or discord. Maybe not so much division, but they're trying to sow discord between all these different groups of people. It really is so unnecessary. Like I do kind of agree that a lot of it, like, it contrasts to like somewhere like the United States or South Africa or something. New Zealand isn't really, or to me, to my mind, maybe people outside of the major cities will probably completely disagree with me, but the tension isn't quite as bad as those places. I think I don't think I'm speaking out of term there. I
We're
think
not
that,
quite on a South Africa level yet, but we're getting
yeah,
there.
or Zimbabwe, or so, a Rhodesia. Yeah, it's
Well, it's like
but
these
yeah,
countries
this is
also talk about colonialism, like decolonialism and stuff like that. So you've got literally these Maori movements talking about decolonialism. It's like, well, we know what decolonialism is because we've seen it in South Africa, Zimbabwe,
oh,
and it basically just leads to
Brazil.
white genocide. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, everywhere, all the time, everywhere. All that we have so many, and yeah, that's what it leads to is white genocide. And I'm glad you brought that up because this movement, we talk about sowing discord, we talk about where it ends up, white genocide. And I mean, and you see what these people are motivated by. They're motivated by pure hatred and resentment, and vilification, and perhaps maybe there's some envy, and it's really this sort of aggrieved, sort of toxic, really awful resentment that they have to, I guess, everything Western and European and white. So that should really give people, a clue into why we need to be part of, well, yeah, movements like why we need to be part of movements like this and try and get a bit active. Because this is for all of you guys. A lot of you guys listening to this are on the younger side, maybe even quite young. So we all need to get ourselves busy, get
yeah, it's
ourselves
networking.
involved, and
Yeah,
yeah, and network, and fight for our rights. We really need to fight for our rights, and keep talking about it, because this is just, we don't want to end up like another Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, or another South Africa. Or there's a limit to how many times we can escape these atrocities. But so we need to start fighting for ourselves now,
yeah,
and hopefully we'll see a huge resurgence. I mean, I was just, Hector, I was just looking at what's happening in the UK, and that they're currently passing a bill where they'll the government will basically be able to see all the Twitter messages and all the private messages you send to everyone, and take legal action based on that. It's just like a complete and total draconian
like
spike ring.
literal thought police, like victimless
Yeah,
crimes. Like if you
yeah,
say the N word in your Xbox Live party
yeah,
chat, they're gonna arrest you.
yeah, yeah. Or even something more mediocre, like, oh, I went down to I don't know, Bursbury Street in London. I don't know if that's an actual street. And
Probably, it sounds like
yeah,
one.
it sounds like but yeah, I went down to Bursbury Street, and I had a curry, and I didn't really like it. Even something like that, like they're just so draconian over there right now that it's just like, potentially, and it always ends up in 20 to 30 police, feds, literally knocking people's doors down, at throwing them on the ground and arresting them. I mean, this is serious stuff that's happening, and it's like we really need to stand up as you know people, Western people, white Western European people, and really defend what we have been given, and what was,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, so graciously given to us.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
exactly. These leftoids and libtards basically want to destroy the country that our ancestors built, for us.
Yeah, and these people are totally these liftoid dysgenic liberals are they are grafted into this sort of academic arts sort of school of arts process, and they're
Sort of
taken, they're
like,
indoctrinated. Yeah,
yeah, they're academics. They don't actually do any sort of productive labor. They don't,
uh,
they don't
they're all
build
art
things for a
students.
living. They don't build
Yeah.
things for a living. I mean, arts can be pretty based, I will agree. There's
Oh,
been some pretty epic artists, but most of these people aren't even making good art. They're just like
oh,
taping a banana to a wall and go, it means I don't like white people.
yeah, pretty much. No exaggeration either, and it gets a lot worse than that.
No, I
But
mean,
yeah.
I went to the Wellington Museum a few months ago, and one of the exhibits was like this Maori thing, and the guy just like put a tarp on the wall and went like, "This means I'm in a waka," and it's like literally just like a blue tarp on a wall. I'm like, mate, this is total bullshit.
That's terrible. You pay like however
Oh,
much to see fine
it
art.
was free. At least I didn't pay to see it.
Okay,
But there
well
wasn't
maybe
much fine art. It was literally just a tarp on the wall, and I was
yeah.
just like, what the frick?
It's great. Oh man, if if someone goes to the museum, make sure you take a photo of that and send it our way because well, I would love to see that, but I'd like to make that like into a montage in the future that we introduce our show with. That's gold, man. That's comedy gold. Yeah, it's more of like a comedic kind of place museums now rather than something that actually touches your soul. It's more of like you go to it for comedy value and to
The
sort of make
Auckland
fun of it.
Museum's way better than the Wellington one. The Wellington Museum's just crap.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no doubt, no doubt. But you get a lot of those types down there, don't you? Even more so than Auckland.
Yeah,
Wellington. I'm not dissing Wellingtonians, but a lot of people from Wellington are great people, super cool people. So, but yeah, there is that. Unfortunately, there is that kind of group of people who seem quite prominent and residing there.
yeah.
But yeah, that's. Yeah, so this is a lot of people in this movement are actually quite based. They say a lot of based and red pill things. It's a lot of these things are of course in stark contrast to the globalist Zionist gay global homo agenda. So this is like where we need to kind of go, guys. We need to sort of this would actually be a really good place, I think, to you know put our effort in. If any of you guys want to get involved or maybe contact people, I think this is a really
Yeah,
good
no, the co-governance
starting
one's
point.
good. I mean,
Yeah.
where is it? There's like they've got all their protests and stuff leading up to the election. Their website is
Mm.
sort of maybe
Oh,
needs some work, is the
it gets the
nice way to
message
put it.
across.
So,
It needs work,
maybe it
but it
could
gets
get
the
the
message
message
across.
across better if the website was a bit neater. But
Yeah.
oh, here we
Yeah.
go, events.
Do you want to scroll up? I think. Um. Oh yeah. Do what you need to do. But yeah, show them the big billboard thing with the dates and the event because there's one coming up in Wellington and then there's
Oh, I
one
can't find
coming
it.
up in Christchurch. And I believe yeah they're coming up quite soon. So if you're interested, guys, and I really encourage you guys to get involved. And and I really encourage you guys to talk to friends, talk to family, just really organize and just show up. And they'll hand you a sign. They might hand you a flag, or you can bring your own stuff. And yeah, just show up. Just be part of the crowd.
Found it.
And yep, there we go. Cool. So yep, here we go. The Auckland one just happened today. And then
There's two
10
Wellington
a.m.
ones for some reason.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, Wellington, I think, will probably be. Some people are saying Christchurch will be. Oh, okay, so the Christchurch one already happened. Right.
So
Okay.
there's the Wellington one next week.
Yeah. So all you Wellingtonians, yeah. If you yourself aren't going, try and get others to go, and try and tell groups of friends or family that you may have
Yeah,
to,
yeah, I'll
you
mention it
know,
at my church tomorrow. See
yeah.
if anyone's interested.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, cool, great. I mean, even if you guys aren't, maybe you're sick or you've got something really important. I don't know what it is. Try tell people anyway, because this is where we need to stand up. The globalists are trying to screw us out of our this great gift that's been given to us, and they are trying to put us into the worst slavery, and they're actively trying to kill us. So let's not mince around the details. We've seen what has happened in the past couple of years. So I mean, let's yeah get this going, guys, and I highly people hand out booklets. I highly recommend you get some of these Stopco Governance booklets by Julian Batchelor. There's a lot of resources on the site that you can use and hand out to people. And it's actually really important that you educate everybody about this, because a lot of people, I'm very surprised. I try to talk about this to people, and it just completely goes over their heads, and they're saying, what is three waters? What is co-governance? They don't have a lick of an idea. But if you want a short line to tell people, basically it's using Maori people or Maori people as the pretext to siphon rights off to them, and use them to sort of dictate to have more sway over our country. But really, it's actually the corporations and government controlling that elite Maori group, where they may ascend in the next couple of years. They may ascend to, they will be paying them, and they will be making the decisions for our nation, and for the future of our country. And it's always under the pretext over, oh, we're doing this for indigenous people, we're doing it for the Maori. But really, of course, that's what they always say. It's always a benevolent image, but of course we know there's always nameless, faceless NGOs and corporations behind this. So that they, you know, that is, I mean, it shouldn't go to any one group of people anyway. I mean, the best people for it to go to would be, European people, because quite frankly, they make the best systems that work for everybody. We know that, right? Um, but so long as other people don't get too big for their britches. But yeah, I mean, yeah, so I would just say, look for their materials, get the materials, educate your friends and family, and try and get them involved in this movement, because this is what Julian Batchelor has done and what Tamaki has done. This is good stuff. This is really good stuff, and I think we all need to get involved. And God bless them for it, and hopefully we can really turn this around. And then when we do, we're gonna keep pushing, and
Well,
we're
yeah.
sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead. Yeah,
Oh no, no, sorry. You
you
go.
go.
I interrupted you.
Oh yeah, I'll just yeah, I've been talking for a lot, but for a long time, but I'll just say, like the left, they never stop. They keep going until they achieve the most heinous things, and then
Until
they
they achieve like communism, then that'll be
come.
their end goal.
That's right, and the most heinous, weird, free love and sexual revolution, all this and just disgusting insanity. And they're not going to stop. So once we overturn this, guys, we are going to keep pushing for our freedoms, keep pushing for our rights, and our rights as white Western people, who have our own rights, and there will be justice for all, and we will be in a continual process of strengthening these ideas, and reviving them, non-stop. We're constantly pushing the ball down the field. So yeah, you go ahead, Hector.
Well, I was just going to say the ideas are already spreading. I mean, was already significant pushback to Three Waters, and you've got, although yeah, we talked about how the ACT Party sort of sucks. At least like David Seymour is mentioning some of these talking points, so it's getting places, getting out there into the mainstream. And you need to do that with pretty much every issue that you care about, not just this one. You need to do it against like anti-white hatred and white genocide,
Mm,
mass migration,
mm,
yeah, liberalism and social liberalism, and tranny demons
yeah.
and actual demons.
Mm, mm. Yeah,
So
yeah, actually, yeah, that's right. And yeah, many of these demons probably inhabit a lot of these people. Is an unfortunate thing.
yeah.
But
But anyways, yeah, I think we should probably wrap that one up. We've been talking for a little while. Any sort of
oh
last
yeah.
comments before we
But
move on to the
yeah, sure,
international
yeah. So
news?
Yeah, so just look at this website, get all the materials, get involved, guys, talk to your friends and family. This is our time to, as, white Western people, or if you're a non-white person listening to this, this is your time as well, because this is a very unique country, and that this is, it kind of is for everybody, to be honest. Everybody,
Well,
at
it's like
least to a
communism doesn't
certain.
really benefit anyone except like,
No.
the
Oh,
Bolsheviks.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, yeah. It's so. I mean, that this is the same playbook, just in a slightly different way. They fine tuned it. So I mean, that this is like, can't really overstate the importance of this, guys. Just get involved and get stuck in and help these people out, spread their material, and if at least I would say if you're active on X, or as it was formerly known, Twitter, a lot of these people call these, quite frankly, very nice, sweet old boomers. They'll call them Nazis. But just remind them on Twitter, if you have a Twitter account, that, well, actually, you people are the violent people, beating up old women from England, as in the case of Posey Parker, and you threaten people and you dox people, and you're a Trantifa. Just throw it back at them on Twitter when they try and, just call them Trantifa, and just remind them that they
Like
are
the
actually
sick
violent.
degenerates they actually are. So,
Yeah, yeah, they are bashing old people.
well, I mean, it's pretty. It's New Zealand. Unfortunately, doesn't quite have that space on Twitter. Well, it's funny that the Australians like dominate it. Like they're sort of
mm,
right-wing people dominate all
yeah,
the leftoid talking points there on
mm,
Aussie Twitter.
yeah. Aussie Twitter. We need to get more in contact with Aussie Twitter. Like we need we can really help each other
The
out, I think.
Anzac Twitter Alliance, mate.
Yeah, Anzac. Yeah, there you go. That's what we need. We need a new Anzac, but instead of fighting for the central banks and governments, and elite bloodlines, we'll be fighting for our own people, and for justice for all. Yeah,
Cool.
sound
All
good?
right, I
Yeah.
think we should probably move on. We've been talking about that for a little while. We'll go into the international news now. I think one of the most pressing issues has been the migrant crisis in Italy that's been forming over the last week or two. You've had tens of thousands of migrants from Africa going on these little boats, and the NGOs literally like picking them up and taking them straight to Italy. They've been going to the island of Lampedusa. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm not Italian, but it's literally you've got tens of thousands of migrants on this island, and it only has 5,000 native inhabitants, and they're causing like absolute chaos, demanding they be let into the rest of Europe, and getting in fights with the police. And I'll show a video of that right now, actually, and actually
Mm,
I'll make sure you can see it
yeah,
as well.
that's
Sorry about that.
no, no, all good, all good. Yeah. So I mean, that this is just the obvious, turmoil that's affecting these poor local people. Let's have a watch, guys.
Yeah. Can I get that bigger?
Yeah, full screen.
So yeah, they're
Yeah.
literally like pushing police. The police are trying to control them, but look at it. It's like a literal like zombie horde
There
of
you go. Yeah. Yeah.
like fighting age Africans, like fleeing their supposedly fleeing violence, but really they just want to get like, we just want free shit,
They just want the
shit.
Gibbs.
Give
They
us more
just Gibbs
Gibbs, shit.
Gibbs me that, white man. Yeah. I mean, that this is a literal zombie invasion. These people have no clue.
Yeah,
They have no idea. They
wait,
just want to be
look,
given stuff.
there's
Yeah.
literally like Red Cross is helping them out and like busing them to wherever they want to go.
Mm. Yeah. This is an organized invasion. Make no mistake about it. And this is going to happen to New Zealand eventually once they um, get all the other countries wrapped up with, quite frankly, a white genocide through replacement migration. UN's own definition, by the way.
Oh, there's the
And
UN right there. UNHRC.
oh, okay, yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's yeah. It is an
It's
invasion.
interesting. Wait, let
That's,
me go back.
sorry.
See,
Oh
there's like a navy, there's a Coast Guard slash Navy ship right there. It's like that ship should be going out and like, sinking the boats.
yeah.
Like your problem solved. There won't
Mm.
be any more boats coming after you sink a couple dozen of them.
Yeah, and I mean, things are so bad right now. I mean, yeah. I, like, I don't know, guys. Like, maybe some, like, it's gotten so bad that vigilantes kind of need to. And I'm not saying you guys should do anything. Don't do anything like that. But at least over in Europe, like, yeah, well, I think you can say that this is how vigilantism does begin to
Yeah, and it
rise.
does
You know,
rise. We've seen that before with the last migration crisis. There was vigilantes like burning down migration centers and NGOs headquarters and stuff. Pretty
mm,
funny,
mm. Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean that will start happening again, and it's interesting because remember like a couple months ago, last year when Italy had their election, they talked about how Maloney was going to be like the female Mussolini, and then
Mm,
she becomes the prime minister and she starts actually shelling for more migration.
mm,
And
mm,
then she's overseeing this massive migration crisis coming
mm.
into Italy. And, the migrants just causing chaos. I don't quite have the video, but there's like a video of the migrants like trying to attack like, old Italian women that like live on the
Mm.
island. It's pretty messed up.
Oh yeah, yeah. That I mean, everywhere they go, they cause trouble. It's just like
Come on, it's
they're
pure
just.
coincidence, mate. They're all scholars, engineers, aerospace engineers, and Kangs.
It's all the racism that is causing them to hit old Italian ladies and just poop everywhere and rape everything. Yeah, it's yeah, it's yeah. What do you really do? But I mean, yeah, Maloney's a big melon head, as her name would suggest, and yeah, she had these like ties to the WEF, to Davos, and to all these sorts of. There were other lots of other suspicious connections that were um, revealed around
Oh,
about the
sorry, I think
time
I
she
got
was
someone at
mining.
the door. Sorry, that's the perils of streaming live. I'll be back in 5 minutes. You got
Yeah.
the floor.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So as I was saying, Maloney had all these suspicious connections to the WEF, to Davos, to all these strange, to all these suspect people, and a lot of people were talking about this. Oh, do we really want this as the next Italian prime minister? And of course, what do you know? As soon as she gets in, she starts, shilling for Africans to enter into Italy. And she was actually going on uh, for quite some time about, the French doing bad things in Africa and blah de blah de blah. Macron is actually a bad man, and it just makes you think. Well, hold on, lady. What about the problems facing your people? I mean, in some ways, Italy is like Greece, probably one of the worst states and of all the states in the European Union, and in the Western world, even I would say. I mean that there is rampant poverty and economic crisis, and it's a really big issue right now. They're really. So I mean that she can spend any time on that at all, really, about all the French doing Macron doing this in Africa is really
All right, I'm back.
just
Sorry
totally
about that. I didn't
ridiculous.
get swatted. There
Mm.
wasn't a police officer at the door.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's
Uh,
yeah. It was just was that
Also,
Brian Tamaki visiting
yeah, I
you?
was just giving a quick visit. I had Brian Tamaki, Phillips,
He just thought he'd spend
yeah,
the night on your couch or something. Yeah,
Winston
no.
Peters came over, all said hi. Yeah, but Kerry Bolton, but anyways, no,
Mm,
it's all good. Also, we got a chat from our skinhead friend. He
okay.
says there's a video of these savages eating someone's pet cat. Like, come on.
Oh my
Like,
gosh,
they
yeah,
probably don't even know what a cat is. Like, they come from like
yeah,
Africa and they probably think it's like a baby like tiger or something.
bushmeat. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
bushmeat.
they all eat all kinds of bushmeat, don't they? And bugs and rats and anything that they can throw a spear at, really. So I mean, it's yeah, they'll probably just see a cat and go, oh yeah, this is some like a walking bushmeat animal. So that yeah, that's it just yeah, again, it's just like these people cannot coexist.
Yeah.
How are you going to provide for especially in the poor state that Italy is in? I was just going on about the economic depravity that faces Italy and is unique in that really in that it is so much more far gone than the rest of the EU and the Western world actually. So it's a real problem, right up there with Greece, I would say. Um, but in any case, yeah, it's yeah. This is really important to notice this about Maloney, as you brought up so aptly, Hector, is that connections to the WEF, connections to all these suspicious characters and Davos people. So this is why Hector and I really stressed, okay, we can't look at the
You know,
ACT and
yeah.
Greens and NZ First as an alternative. This isn't really an alternative. They may say some base things, they may say some, but they've had a long time. Okay, we really need to look at the new up and comers who are saying all this stuff and who have, Brian Tamaki in his own way, whatever you may think of him, has had his own sort of grassroots, organic community kind of engagement and movement in New Zealand, and he has, he does have a following, and this guy, I believe, does really stand up for Western Christian values. So and the other Freedoms Party, they are saying all the right things that are, again, in complete contrast to the globalist tenets, the globalist agenda. So that we really stress these parties in light of, people said, oh, Maloney, she's the new Mussolini, oh, she's
It's
going to
like,
be
yeah, I
so
wish.
yeah, great. And when it was right there, World Economic Forum member, she's visited there quite a few times, and she's connected to all these people. Yeah, I wish, right? And what do you know? She's given these weird speeches in the past, and what do you know? She's got all these Africans that she's trying to shove into Italy and all over Europe. So I mean, this is why we really stress this, guys. Be careful who you vote for, who you support. Make sure they are saying all the right things. Use a what is it, a magnifying glass, and just be quite clear, about is this is this really truly against globalism? Because we just saw with New Conservative, as Hector brought up, you know, they want to bring in all these crazy anti-Semitism bills, and you know, we and I
I,
thought, wow, well, that
yeah.
might be an alter, yeah.
I
So,
remember back in the day, this is the last election cycle, where like you go on 4chan and there's people like shilling for the New Conservative Party, and every time I'll just post that one article saying that they're going to use the UN definition of anti-Semitism like every
that's
single
right.
time. I was just like,
Mm,
buddy, do not vote for these people. Come on.
yeah, no, we can't. That is such a yeah, yeah. That is such a red flag. Like that is just like a glowing red lighthouse of a beacon, So yeah, that's exactly it, guys. And your job is just to spread this around in the most effective way possible. And I really hope that Italians really get someone genuine next time. But even so, even though Melonhead is still in going to be in Italian Parliament for what, about 3 years now, Hector?
Yeah, I
Is it?
think they're about a year and a half in when they had their last election. It was last year at
Yeah.
some point.
Well, there you go. Italians still need to, whatever the circumstance, whatever the circumstance for any, European people, is, however bad it is, we need to find ways to push back and keep pushing back, and keep the pressure on our government and all our officials. I mean, that is where the principalities and powers are conducted, is these people and in these political structures. So we all need to be involved in helping out and directly influencing that, and getting involved with that to eventually stop these kinds of hacks from taking control and flooding our nations with Africans,
Hmm.
and Jewish policies,
Yeah, absolutely.
that enslave us all.
Yeah, well,
So,
Italy's got
mm,
some actual sort of interesting parties. They've got, like Casa Pound and whatnot. They're pretty good. And then also,
mm,
if they're a bit too radical, you've got like Italsic, which is like
mm.
Brexit, but Italsit.
Well, yeah. I mean, that I'm surprised that hasn't gone through yet already,
It might
because
next election if Maloney keeps being like, a
bitch.
frick. Yeah, a bitch
Excuse
and a
me. Yeah,
frick. Yeah,
yeah,
they might get in, but we'll see.
Yeah, Maloney baloney. Yeah, who knew? So yeah, she is a bunch of a baloney. So yeah, and I mean, I haven't really even heard her do anything else that's good. So yeah, I mean, I just pray for the Italian people and everybody listening to this, and pray that they find their way out of this. That's a very demoralizing situation for them, sure, but in a way, it's kind of like so clear that I can't really see it going anywhere but going to the right, Hector. I mean, that this is just like,
Well, what's the left solution? Like, let even
yeah,
more in?
yeah, well, exactly. And you could even say, what's the right solution?
No,
I mean,
exactly. So,
yeah, I mean, there needs to be something genuine, something real. Like, we really need to stress wherever we, Western white people are, we really need to stress authenticity and genuineness when it comes to politics, and really make sure that people are, really putting the political hacks and government and corporations, putting them under the gun and keeping the heat on them, and thankfully we're kind of seeing that, as you mentioned, Hector, in the Republican Party in the United States, where you're seeing this sort of movement of mega America first Trump
Ah, the
Republicans.
mega communists, they're the ones that are going to bring the real solutions.
Oh goodness, yeah, those people. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, yeah, we're seeing that happen in the United States and elsewhere in Germany and in Sweden. So it's not completely lost, but it all requires us to get involved. I mean, you have to live and breathe resistance to these people. Just as our ancestors thought they were doing when they entered into these tragic wars. But yeah, we all need to make ourselves a cell for resistance against these demonic, evil, authoritarian policies that are gonna enslave and kill us all, guys. I mean that's just. I mean, sorry to be hyperbolic. Maybe it's not hyperbole, but I mean that's really, you know. So there's kind of no other choice, really. But I mean that's the future we face if everybody's got to get stuck and everybody's got to do it. And yeah, we can't afford to vote for people. This is me saying this. We can't afford to go, oh, maybe
It's
we'll
like, oh,
vote
we
for
really need to get rid
ACT.
of Labour, so I'll just vote ACT or something.
Yeah, okay, we'll vote for ACT. We'll vote for NZ first. Oh, okay. I don't really agree, but we'll vote for Green. Strategic vote. Nah, it's gotta be. We've got to just flip the table over, and we have to live and breathe resistance to these people. It's just there's no other way. I mean, Italy with Melonhead Baloney as an example. Mrs. Baloney. She, um, yeah, as a perfect example of that. We don't have
Yeah, the
time
perfect
anymore,
example of, oh,
guys.
we're going to vote for the based right-wing female Mussolini. And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Oh
no, they're a shill.
goodness.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, wow, who saw that coming?
Yeah.
It's like
Oh
she's a
goodness.
Zionist and she goes to all these, Davos meetings and is part of the WEF. And it's like,
Mm,
yeah, I don't think she's going to be the next female Mussolini.
yeah. No. And yeah. Yeah. And no, thank you. No, that we need a. So yeah, it's Yeah. I mean, I hope the Italian people see this, and I hope they really.
Yeah, they got mad at me as well. I remember this is also back on 4chan when the election was about to happen. Everyone's like, "Oh, Maloney's based," and I'm like, "Well, actually, she's a Zionist." And I like post this article, and they're like, "Nah, she just said that because she had to." And it's like a year later, she's letting in tens of
Yeah.
thousands of Africans into her country.
Yeah, I mean, even you're right, and I've experienced the same thing when you point out things about Russia and the Kremlin and Putin, that you get the same sort of treatment. But yeah, so I really sympathize with that. And I mean, even the remark that, oh, she's saying that because she has to. Well, that's
Well, it's
not good
like
enough,
you
is
just
it?
say, just don't say it. I'll say like what's
Yeah,
actually right.
yeah, or yeah, actually stand up for something, actually stand up for the right thing. How about that? Like that's another big red flag. Like we don't have time to, mince around quite frankly, the JQ. We don't have time for that. We have to call them out and put pressure on them and say, like, hey, you are kind of screwing us over in terms of our rights and freedoms. Can you please call the ADL out? Can you please put community pressure on Greenblatt? We've been waiting, kind of like this. But yeah, I don't know if they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna come through, and that. I think what outside pressure is needed for that situation. But yeah, that's we yeah. I think I've said it many times, but yeah, it's people are. Problem is people are so like fickle, and people don't want to. I guess, for lack of a
Well,
better
I mean,
quote,
people just
that
want to like live in a fantasy world. They want to. I mean, it sort of sucked. It's like, oh, here's a base person. You go, actually, no, they're
yeah,
like a Zionist. I
yeah,
mean, it sort of does, unfortunately, give people hope to be like, oh, I'm just going to vote
mm,
for this person, then everything will be fine. But it's like it doesn't work that way.
no, no,
That's just the way of life.
yeah. There's no insurance policy. There's no, just like what Marjorie Taylor Greene, like with Kevin McCarthy. I mean, she just there was no promise that I mean, well, she made a promise. McCarthy made a promise with her, but like there was no guarantee on that fulfillment. So, yeah, that whole thing is another story. But that was completely ridiculous how she basically sold her whole base out,
Hmm.
or the Trump base. But yeah, I mean, we need people who are recogni- recognizing these things and saying them. And support those people, not people who are maybe 50-50, not people who we think that they support Zionism because, they had to say it, or, not people who we go, oh, they went to the WEF meetings and the Davos people and, attended that. But, they're probably the next
Kiss the
Mussolini.
wall in,
Yeah,
Jerusalem.
exactly, exactly. It's, we can't afford to do that anymore, guys. And we need to, and you guys need to make sure that people understand that, and that they incorporate that into their beliefs. So you've got to be a bit of a, you got to proselytize yourselves and get it clear that we just went through a hellish period of injections, of lockdowns, of masks, of freedoms being ripped away, and we're gonna go, let's vote X. David Seymour's kind of funny and he's pro-gun, or oh, the Greenies have always been there, or Winston's been there, or whatever. It's people don't want to look a dog in the eye and call it a dog. They want to say, maybe it could be an elephant, and maybe it could be a possum, but anything but a dog, right? So it's a bit of a funny analogy, but I mean that's kind of what a lot of people, they show a kind of, I don't know, like an apathy around, or yeah, they're lazy, but yeah, so yeah, again, we need to reflect on that situation in Italy, on our own situation, and try and do that. It would actually be good to get Dotro on again and discuss that with him.
Yeah,
If we could.
I might have
Frank's
to get in
always
contact with him.
he's
Yeah,
a great guy. Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
He'll say,
Um,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. Well, should we move on to the next topic? I mean, this is sort of a general topic of the rising tensions. It's been going on for nearly, what, 2 years now, about the apparent invasion of Taiwan by China and just
Mm,
the increased tensions in the
mm,
Pacific. And of course, this affects New Zealand being, a Pacific nation.
mm,
If
mm,
there's,
mm,
a big naval battle between Japan, China, and Taiwan,
mm.
it's probably not going to be good.
No, no, not certainly not for us. Because Australia will be involved, and inevitably the United States, and as Kerry Bolton himself said, that a big globalist proponent, Alexander Dugan, who has been a contributor of globalist ideas, said that we are part of that sort of Southeast Asian or Pacific vector, where they want to claim that general area for themselves, using China as a means to do so once the West and once the bulwark of the West, i.e., America, is weakened enough. So yeah, this is something that another thing that we need to get smart on and be aware of, and we need to, yeah, we need to promote peace, really. And yeah, that I'm sure there's a lot of other things that we could do, and drop ideas in the chat, if you guys have good ideas. But yeah,
Well, it's like it's also
mm,
what I think it was. What's his name? Jim something of the Australia First Party. He
mm,
said that, back in the Cold War, they were like, oh, we don't like the Americans, but we're going to side with the Americans because they're against communists. But it's like, well, that's not really good enough. It's like you need to
mm,
sort of be neutral. You need to be calling out both sides
mm,
because these
mm.
both sides do escalate these sort of conflicts, and
Ideally, yeah.
they'll drag in the smaller nations that are, they consider as part of their sphere.
Mm, mm, yeah, and everybody, yeah, everybody gets wrecked, and yeah, there just needs to be more. We need to force our leaders to have diplomacy first and foremost, and negotiations, rather than just going headlong into war, which is, I'm sure a lot of you guys watching have just seen the utter diplomatic failure
Yeah,
that
of
is the
Ukraine, yeah.
neocons. Yeah, that they're and they're even like taunting those like Rand Paul or Ron Paul who are trying to promote peace and say, nobody wants this, we don't want this, and they're like, "Huh, what are you afraid of war? And it's like that's the level of just outright
Like, what are you, a
stupidity.
pansy?
Yeah, exactly. It's saying,
You don't want to
from
go to
people
war
who,
with China over Taiwan? What are you, a
yeah,
pansy?
yeah, and possibly risk, nuclear war or anything else really, World War III. It's just, but these are the kind of people we have. So like we need to, ideally we'd get everybody to, if there was an avenue for us to influence, people in the US this way. I mean, it would be really good to get people in the United States to. I mean, people in the United States really just have to not deal with Republican representatives anymore. And they say, look, you're not going to be diplomatic. You're not going to make peace with the Kremlin and start. And I don't like the Kremlin. I don't trust the Kremlin. I'm not a supporter of the Kremlin. Okay, but you're not going to make peace and do diplomacy and things like this with the other side. We're not going to vote for you. You know, simple as that. And we're actually going to protest against you. And I really resonate with that destroy the GOP that happened sometime back. That
Yeah, a year or
Fuentes
two
led.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good, and that's honestly the Trump energy. It's like they asked Trump, or they asked everybody in the first Republican debate, will you, if someone else in this party gets the nomination and you don't, will you people support that candidate? And they all put their hands up, but Trump just stood there nodding his head side to side. And they asked him about it, and he said, well, basically, you better let me win, or otherwise I'll run it as an independent, and you run a high risk of Clinton getting it. I mean, that's kind of like and that was just an outrageous thing to say, at the time. But that is what we need to just go. You people have given us nothing. You haven't even given us the minimum. Okay, balls in your court. You do something. We want peace. We want diplomacy. We want a wall. We want to stop to the migration, the mass migration. We want to stop to the train. All of it. Balls in your court. Otherwise, you can say goodbye to your cushy job as a politician. You can kiss that goodbye.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's what we need to do. And I wish people would recognize that in New Zealand and do the same thing.
Well, I
But
think
yeah.
it's the stuff with Taiwan. It's like, isn't Taiwan and China like the definition of like an internal issue? I mean, both of these like are Chinese nations, both claim to be the true Chinese government. So if they like, get in a conflict, I mean, hopefully they don't. Hopefully it, sorts itself out diplomatically. But if they do get in a conflict, it's like that's the definition of like an internal conflict. But then you have America saying, "Oh, if China attacks Taiwan, we will defend them." So
Mm,
that's quite bold for what's
mm,
essentially an internal Chinese issue.
yeah, yeah. I think yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, part of me kind of wants to go, yeah, I'm a bit funny on it, to be honest. Cuz naturally I don't want China to, I don't think any of us wants China to exert any more influence
Yeah,
over
they're
South.
they're already they already influence. There's too much influence there.
Yeah, and so part of me is like, I don't really think that's happening. I think America is being primed through Israeli government and Chinese government subversion for them to potentially enact an invasion on Taiwan or America's state of California. Um, but in any case, yeah, it's I don't think anyone wants that. But yeah, it's the consequences of war would just be so disastrous. Who knows if the Biden administration would actually attempt to do that? They have a much
They
superior
said they
naval.
will, but
Mm,
whether they actually would, I guess, is another question.
yeah, that they have a much more superior naval force than China does. China has one carrier. America
One
has
or
like,
two. I think maybe they have two now.
they have two now? Okay. Yeah. America has like
11
14,
at 14.
11. Okay.
Maybe it's more than that now.
Maybe it's yeah, 12, 11. But yeah, so that's a significant and they're currently in the process of upgrading. They've got a new upgrade of carriers that they are producing now, which is it's quite exciting. I like all this new military technology. Of course, a lot of that will be, unless they get tough on Israel, a lot of that will be siphoned off
Yeah.
to China, which a lot of the Chinese carriers and a lot of
Well,
the
it's like
Chinese
the
military.
what is it, the J-30, the new Chinese aircraft is like a rip-off of the F-35.
Yeah, well, it all is. Their whole military is hard American hard work and Western ingenuity and brilliance and
Yeah.
genius and into their that they're just taking it from and the Jews are giving it to them.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Israeli
I remember that
government
was like explicit. Like the Israelis stole it and then they sold it to
sold
China.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the Israeli Jews get all that tech as well, and they get the back doors to the Central Intelligence Agency. So it's really yeah, we really need there needs to be like a come to Jesus moment about so many things right now. I mean, it's just so dire. Like we need everybody to just drink a big cold glass of water, just chill out and take a deep breath and go, okay, we do not want these tensions to go ahead and let's start focusing on quite frankly the main disruptor to peace, which is that country in the Middle East. Yeah, sorry, this is getting a bit off topic. I think it's true, but and it's worth mentioning. But yeah, it's I don't know if it's gonna go ahead because America's in a weakened state right now.
Well, America's getting weaker while China's getting stronger, but
Mm,
at the
mm,
same time, Japan's also getting stronger. I have the article up now. Like Japan wants to double their investment in the military by like the year 2027, which would make them the third largest military power on Earth.
yeah, and rightfully so, especially seeing how China's encroaching and America's weakening. That is exactly a very sound idea for the Japanese
Do you think
government
we're going to
to
see a return of the Imperial Japan?
hail Imperial Japan. Banzai for the Emperor. Yeah, no, absolutely. I hope we do. I hope it's at least I hope it's the best parts of imperialist Japan with the best parts of because I want Japanese to have freedom and stuff too, and I'd like to cooperate with them. It's quite clear that the Japanese are on a similar level to Western countries in that they can produce their own
Well, I mean,
stuff.
they were the only Western country, sorry, the only Eastern country to sort of Westernize in, the 19th and 20th centuries till they got like basically became a peer with a lot of European powers. I mean, they defeated Russia in the
Yeah,
Russo-Japanese War.
yeah, there's a lot of merits, and going into the future would be great to and I wouldn't want anything I'd want for the West. I'd want for the Japanese because clearly they have really there are people who really stand out as being very high quality, respectable people that despite the same things that
Well, should Japan
ail
invade
them.
Taiwan? Should they reclaim it as part of the empire?
Maybe. No, I don't think Japan needs
No,
to do
I
that.
don't think they will
Yeah,
either.
but nah, they yeah, I think that's a good. They definitely need to do that, and I think all countries need to start thinking for themselves, including Korea or the EU, because they just can't really rely on the US anymore, and there's a real tumor uh, that I've reiterated so many times on this podcast. I think we all know what that tumor is, but yeah, I mean, every nation, as Japan is displaying, needs to show its own military and prowess in terms of governance, systematic governance, in its own internal and external affairs. Because look,
Well, as long
America's
as like
hijacked.
if a new Japanese empire doesn't try and encroach on like Australia and New Zealand, I'll be all right with it.
Yeah. Yeah, somehow I don't think that will. I mean, how deep does the spirit of the samurai go? But I think we're all kind of on a common understanding. China hasn't developed not nearly the same way as Japan has, and plus there is
Well, it's
sort of that.
interesting. Japan literally like industrialized twice. It's they
Mm.
industrialized in the 19th century, and
Mm.
then after World War II, they industrialized again, like quite successfully, to the point they are the second largest economy in the world.
Yeah, yeah, right, 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 exactly, yeah. And what's more is they actually have a lot of cultural prowess as well, where everybody wants to, involve themselves in Japanese things, and that they've been a huge contributor to the worldwide culture that everybody enjoys. So just like how
Yeah,
America has
Pokemans, you got
Pokemans, your
Pokemans.
anime, your Japanese animes that Jared Taylor likes to watch from time to time, or Osama bin Laden himself. And I don't think that was actually true, but
Well, I mean, Gaddafi had a Pikachu pillow. I remember seeing that in one of his videos.
that's not true.
He did. I remember seeing it.
Okay, whatever. Well, that's pretty cool. But yeah. Where was I? You've completely
Oh,
what the Pikachu fella. Okay. I'm gonna check that out after this. That's truly funny. I've never heard of that before. But yeah, in the same in a similar way to their cultural contributions. I mean, it's kind of similar to how America was a real driver, and everybody wanted a hamburger and
I mean, they
wanted to
still
wear
are.
blue jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want a hamburger right now, and everybody wants to wear blue jeans, that kind of thing, and Coca Cola. Although don't drink Coca Cola now; it's so unhealthy. Probably Coca Cola back then was maybe not so bad. I don't know, but yeah, it's yeah, that too just really shows how different they are to the rest of Asia. Um, and the Chinese, they are a right wing people. Chinese, less so, probably much less so. So it's as is evidenced by their various revolutions and things like that.
Do you think
Mm.
Japan would like become mega based and like write a new constitution and kick the Americans out?
Yeah, I think. Oh, I don't know. That's a really good question. I think there is certainly the potential for that, especially because the Japanese aren't so given to these liberal, progressive, silly, idiosyncrasies and just general silliness that is so patently false. There are people who are much more able to look truth in the eye and call it for what it is. Even though the globo homo has rotted much of Japanese society, there is still that sort of I'm not sure what you'd really call it. Just that uh, plain faced admission of the truth. That they don't like to cut around corners. They're very to the facts people, as far as I'm concerned. Um, but yeah, in terms of that, yeah, potentially they do. A lot of Japanese very much like their relationship with America. I think they do enjoy a lot of benefits, but if things got really bad, then potentially that could be in the cards. But I don't think it's likely myself.
Yeah, probably not in the near future, but who knows?
If things got really bad, if America became a completely different state, completely unrecognizable, and a sort of like tranny
Oh, you're getting
fascistic,
there.
yeah, kind of way, then yeah, much like this
Yeah, should we
strange,
move on to the last story of the day, the paper mache Mexican alien?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, this is
Swedish.
just really funny. I can't believe this became a story. Remains of the alleged non-human have been presented at the hearing of Mexico's Congress
kind of looks like
investigating alien life.
kind of looks like Chris Hipkins a little bit,
Yeah, it sort of does. You can literally see like the fingerprints where they like made the paper mache mold in that. Why is it so small as well?
yeah, I
I
think
thought
they're really
aliens are meant to have like really big brains. Oh, this thing like has the head of a cat or something.
anomalous
Y
phenomena.
creo que hay una demostración clara de que nos encontramos
UFO
ante
researcher.
entidades no humanos que no tienen relación con ninguna otra especie en nuestro mundo.
Well, I mean, I think it's like, paper mache and, concrete. So that's probably not related to a species of the world.
Nos quedamos con reflexiones, con inquietudes y con la ruta de seguir platicando sobre esto.
A LeMayo.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Hey, Lamau, mate. Oh, there we go. Watch the whole thing.
Oh, right,
So
yeah.
it's sort of funny how this like bizarre Mexican paper mache alien became like international headlines. I was talking about it on like, TVNZ a week or two ago. It was pretty funny.
Why Mexico of all places to
Oh, I mean,
like?
I think Mexico's sort of like a funny nation. I mean, they wear like big sombreros and they have like afternoon siestas and they go, "Ay, caramba!"
Yeah, but how does it serve like the rest of the world to release this information? And I mean, unless it is actually genuine, but I mean, it's like,
I don't think it's genuine. I mean, just look at it.
yeah, I mean, for a psyop, you'd think they'd choose somewhere else, but okay, maybe Mexico. I don't know. I don't know.
I think
But
it's Mexico's like a humorous, funny place. Like, they got
so,
big sombreros and eat burritos.
so okay, so that's the reason why they chose the alien release here. Yeah, but I mean, I think this is probably an obvious psyop, unless this develops in some way where we see some like genetic sequencing or whatever of this paper mache sculpture that 5-year-olds made. Then yeah, yeah, I think it's a psyop.
Oh, I think it's definitely a psyop because you had agencies like NASA going, "Oh, if you send us the body, we'll look into it." It's like, come on.
Yeah, yeah. It's like and even if it is genuine, I mean, there are so many pressing concerns like happening right now that it's like, man, do we
Well, it
have
did sort of
time to
work.
worry?
People were talking about aliens for like a week or two non-stop after this happened. And I was like, buddy, what the heck?
Oh, really? Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I noticed a little bit of it. It wasn't
Yeah.
too bad, but I saw people talking about the bloody UFO alien paper
Mm,
mache every now and
mm.
again. I'm like, buddy, it's like a mache alien.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess whatever they can use to populate the minds of the masses, these kind of frivolous things, that aren't really of any real importance to us. I mean, unless there's anything that else they know about these aliens, but it's just like, oh, we found some, the Mayans made some papier mache aliens, so here they are. Ooh, yeah. But yeah, that's about as far as this goes. I think. It's
Yeah.
I mean, I hope it's true. Part of me wants to believe that A. Lameos have been living with us
It's
all
like
along.
the meme, I want to believe.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, the whole alien thing is another discussion in itself. I
I
mean,
mean, it wasn't just this. They also had like the hearing in, I think it was the American Congress, where some
yeah,
guy was like, "Oh, there was a UFO. I saw it once."
yeah,
So it's like there's a little
yeah.
bit of
I
effort to like
remember
be
that.
pushing the alien things in the last couple of months or weeks.
Yeah, it's just like a convenient thing. Like I've actually noticed it kind of years it was building up to this. Like Joe Rogan started it out, and then like this program, Ancient Aliens on Sky News, I think, or the Discovery Channel came out, and all these people like alien professionals
How do you
came
become an
together.
alien professor? Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you just get abducted by an alien and like
They
you
teach
just
you their
chill with them.
secrets.
Yeah, whatever their secrets.
Vibe with the alien, mate.
Yeah, I think the aliens made TikTok. I probably, yeah, I see a lot of aliens there, but yeah, no, yeah, so I mean that's kind of as far as it. I mean, I've seen some like footage of weird lights in the sky, and I'm trying to think back. Like, there's actually been a lot of stuff around aliens, but I'm not sure if how much of it is really substantial, which is really substantive. Um,
I think most of it isn't. And I think that's the
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
really, it's
Most of
like
it
low
isn't.
effort. I mean, how much effort do you need to make this? I mean,
Yeah.
an afternoon to make a paper mache alien?
I'm
Like,
actually more convinced by the Kaikoura lights. Like what happened down in Kaikoura with that Maori family videotaping the sky, recording the sky with those like symbols, those red symbols that were floating around in the sky. That was way more
I haven't seen that
convincing.
one actually.
Yeah, it's really cool. There's like a New Zealand documentary. I think it's called the Kaikoura Lights or something. It's like a
Well,
doco, and some more Maori families like recording the night sky, and they're like, "Oh, gee, look at that! That's pretty chippy, eh? Oh, it's pretty funny. Like, but it's pretty cool. Like, it's like looks like the language of the Jutan, the predator from
Well,
alien
maybe
versus predator.
the ancient aliens will meet up with the ancient Aryans of New Zealand.
Yeah, well, where does that even come from? Like, there's dwarves in the center of the earth, and like, is that like,
What?
and then they contacted aliens, and then, see, you can go anywhere with this. It's dwarves in the center of the earth. They make contact with aliens, and then they like,
Write a
the Aryans are
sci-fi
there.
novel about it.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, yeah. Apparently, there's like 14 different species of it. Yeah, and then you make lots of money,
Yeah.
right? And then you become rich, and then you
Become a
go.
UFO professor like this guy.
I mean, it's like that's the whole point of university, is to get an education so you can get rich, right?
Yeah,
The white
by
collar
and
job.
large, yeah.
Yeah, you just talk a bunch of bullshit, and you get rich, So like that's so maybe we should have all just become alien professors and started like a new right wing elite of alien professors and just got really rich, like Trump level, Elon Musk level rich, and just like bought out our government and like.
That's one way of going about it.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's all we're covering today.
Yeah.
So we might wrap it up. A bit of a shorter one this time, but that's probably a good thing. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Any last messages, Gil?
No, just yep, make sure you get involved with the Stopco Governance people, and make sure you give the Freedom Parties and NZ Loyal a good look, and see who you think is best. I strongly encourage you to look at these two parties and encourage others in this way, and yeah, just encourage all your friends and family to get involved in co-governance and try and get them to vote for these parties, because these are genuine parties.
Yeah, I agree. I would say in terms of networking, it's probably a good thing to join either like Loyal or Freedom or even what's left of the Social Credit Party.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, get involved. I mean, go to your local church, be epic, network.
Go on Twitter, call them Trantifar, and call them out for, if they call people Nazis, call them out for
say
bashing Rosie
the
Parker.
N-word in Xbox Live chats. You'll be good. So yeah, you got to start building those connections and spreading the ideas amongst your local friend group, because that's how this thing spreads, buddy. And it's already has. I mean, you've a lot of our talking points a year ago that were only in these, friend groups and whatnot, are now being espouted by mainstream conservatives like Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. It's growing all the time. So, don't stop, guys. Live and breathe resistance. Become an alien professor and get rich, or get rich some other way, and become someone who people can really rely on, and really contribute, guys, and just get involved. Is all I could say.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you guys have a great evening. We will see you next week.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah, stay blessed. Oh, whoops.